The marble floors of the Volkov estate gleamed under crystal chandeliers, each surface polished to perfection by hands that knew better than to leave a single streak. Maya Sokolova moved through the third-floor hallway with practiced silence, her cleaning cart wheels oiled to near soundlessness. In houses like this, invisibility was survival. At 26, she'd perfected the art of being overlooked. Keep your head down, finish your tasks, collect your paycheck, and ignore the men in expensive suits who spoke in coded language about shipments and territories. The placement agency had been clear. The Volkov family paid triple the standard rate for household staff, but the application process involved background checks more thorough than most government positions. Maya had passed, barely, her student visa and clean record enough to satisfy whoever vetted the help. What they didn't know, what she'd carefully omitted, was that she understood every word of Russian spoken in this house, that the language of her childhood, buried under years of deliberate Americanization, came flooding back every time she overheard the boss speaking to his men. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. Maksim Volkov. Even his name carried weight in Chicago's underworld. At 34, he'd inherited his father's empire and expanded it with ruthless efficiency. The newspapers called him a venture capitalist, a tech investor, and a philanthropist. The streets knew better. He controlled everything from the ports to the politicians, his influence spreading like shadows at dusk. Maya had seen him exactly twice in her 3 weeks of employment. Once from a distance as he'd left for a meeting, surrounded by bodyguards, his dark suit and darker expression making him look carved from stone. The second time, he'd passed her in the hallway, his ice-blue eyes sliding over her as though she were part of the furniture. She'd kept her gaze down, heart hammering until his footsteps faded. The other staff whispered about him. His wife, Irina, dead 2 years from a car accident that nobody believed was accidental. About how he'd become colder after her death, more dangerous, throwing himself into business with the single-minded focus of a man trying to outrun grief. About the little girl, Anya, who barely spoke anymore and cried herself to sleep most nights. Maya had heard those cries. Working the evening shift meant she was often still cleaning when the household settled for the night. The sound of a child's broken sobbing drifting from the nursery wing pierced something deep in her chest, reminding her of her own childhood, of losses that still ached. Tonight was no different. Maya was dusting the hallway outside the family quarters when she heard it. Desperate, hiccuping wails that spoke of exhaustion and inconsolable sorrow. She paused, cloth in hand, warring with herself. This wasn't her business. Getting involved with the family beyond her duties was explicitly forbidden. But God, that crying. It sounded like a soul-breaking. She set down her supplies and moved toward the sound, stopping outside a door painted soft pink. Through the crack, she could see into a bedroom designed for a princess. Canopy bed draped in silk, toys arranged on pristine shelves, walls painted with delicate murals of Russian fairy tales. And in the center of it all, a tiny figure in princess pajamas, sobbing into her hands. No nanny, no father, just a 4-year-old girl drowning in grief. Maya's hand moved to the door before her brain could override the decision. She pushed it open slowly, stepping into the room with her hands visible, non-threatening. The little girl's head snapped up, revealing a face flushed with tears, blonde curls tangled, blue eyes, her father's eyes, red and swollen. Pojaluista ne plak, Malishka, Maya whispered in Russian. Please don't cry, little one. Anya froze, shock replacing tears for a moment. Then her bottom lip trembled. Ty govorish po-ruski? You speak Russian? Da. Maya knelt beside the bed, maintaining a respectful distance. Ya govoryu? Yes. I speak it. Mama govorila po-ruski. Anya whispered, fresh tears spilling. Mama spoke Russian. Papa says I must speak English now, but I forget the words Mama taught me. I forget her voice. Maya's heart cracked clean through. She glanced toward the door. Still no nanny, no guards, no sign of the terrifying man who owned this house. Just a cleaning woman and a broken little girl in a room that cost more than Maya's entire year of college tuition. Would you like me to sing to you? Maya asked softly in Russian. Something your mama might have sung? Anya nodded frantically, climbing under her covers, eyes fixed on Maya with desperate hope. Maya settled into the chair beside the bed, her voice emerging soft and low. The lullaby she'd learned from her own babushka in Moscow, before everything had fallen apart. The words flowed like water finding an ancient riverbed. Spi, mladenets moi prekrasny. Sleep, my beautiful baby. Bayu bayushki bayu. Hushabai, hushabai. Tiho smotrit mesyats yasny, v kolabel tvoyu. The bright moon watches quietly into your cradle. The effect was immediate. Anya's crying quieted, her breathing beginning to even out. Maya continued, verse after verse, watching the child's eyes grow heavy. She was so small, so fragile, for someone born into such a brutal world. Maya's voice carried through the final verse, the melody wrapping around them both like a blanket against the cold reality beyond these walls. Anya's eyes finally closed, her small chest rising and falling in the rhythm of sleep. Maya stood carefully, preparing to slip away as silently as she'd come. She made it 3 steps toward the door before she felt it. The change in air pressure, the weight of another, presence. She turned. Maksim Volkov stood in the doorway. He was larger up close than she'd realized, 6 feet of controlled power in a white dress shirt, with sleeves rolled to reveal forearms corded with muscle. His dark hair was disheveled as though he'd been running his hands through it. But it was his face that stopped her breath. The sharp, aristocratic features had gone completely blank, pale as death, as though he'd seen a ghost materialize in his daughter's bedroom. His ice-blue eyes locked onto Maya with an intensity that made her want to flee. His jaw clenched, a muscle ticking beneath the surface. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper, rough with something that might have been pain. "Where did you learn that song?" The question hung between them, loaded with meaning Maya couldn't begin to interpret. She dropped into a small bow, appropriate for addressing her employer, her heart hammering so hard she was certain he could hear it. "I apologize, Mr. Volkov. I heard your daughter crying and I shouldn't have interfered. I'll return to my duties immediately." "Answer the question." His voice sharpened, taking on the edge of command that probably made grown men in his organization tremble. "That lullaby. Where did you learn it?" Maya's mouth went dry. "My grandmother taught me. In Moscow. Before we immigrated." Something flickered across his features. Recognition, calculation, and beneath it all, a grief so profound it was almost visible. He moved into the room with predatory grace, each step deliberate, closing the distance between them until Maya could smell his cologne, something expensive and dark, cedar and smoke. "Sing it again," he commanded. The second verse. "Mr. Volkov, I don't think... That's not a request, miss." He paused, realizing he didn't know her name, that she was just another faceless member of his staff. Sokolova. Maya Sokolova. Miss Sokolova. His eyes never left her face, studying her with the focus of a man who'd built an empire by reading people accurately. The second verse. Now. Maya's survival instincts screamed at her to refuse, to run, to do anything but comply. But there was something in his expression beyond the command, something raw and desperate that reminded her of Anya's tears. Her voice emerged shakier than before, but the words were clear. "Stanu skazyvat ya skazki. I will tell you fairy tales. Pesenko spoyu. I will sing you songs. Tij dremai, zakrivshi glazki. But you must dream, closing your eyes. Bayou, bayou, bayou. Hushaby, hushaby. She watched his face transform as she sang. His rigid control cracked, revealing something underneath that looked like a man drowning. His hand lifted unconsciously, as though reaching for something. Someone who wasn't there. When the verse ended, silence filled the room like a living thing. My wife sang that to Anya, he said finally, his voice stripped of its earlier command, leaving only grief. Every night from the day she was born until... He stopped, jaw clenching. That specific version, that exact melody. Not the common variant, but the one sung in the old districts of Moscow, passed down through families. Maya's breath caught. My grandmother was from Arbat, she said quietly, naming one of Moscow's oldest neighborhoods. She learned it from her mother. Irina was from Arbat. The words emerged like a confession, like an admission of something sacred. He moved to his daughter's bedside, looking down at the sleeping child with an expression that transformed his features from dangerous to devastatingly human. She died 2 years ago. Anya hasn't slept through a full night since. The raw honesty in his voice surprised Maya more than anything. Men like Maksim Volkov didn't reveal weakness, didn't admit to loss, didn't let the help see them as anything but invulnerable. Yet here he stood, grief written in every line of his body. Until tonight, he continued, turning back to Maya, until you sang her mother's lullaby. He studied her with renewed intensity, but the cold calculation had been replaced by something more complex. How long have you worked here, Miss Sokolova? 3 weeks, sir. And in those 3 weeks, you never revealed you spoke Russian. It wasn't a question, but Maya answered anyway. The agency said discretion was essential. I assumed that meant keeping my observations to myself. A ghost of something that might have been approval touched his features. Smart. Most people in your position would have tried to leverage that knowledge. He moved closer again, and Maya fought the urge to step back. Why didn't you? Because I needed this job more than I needed to be clever. The honesty seemed to surprise him. His eyes tracked over her face, really looking at her for the first time. She wondered what he saw. A too thin graduate student with dark hair pulled back severely, shadows under her eyes from too many late-night shifts, hands roughened from cleaning solutions. Nothing like the elegant wife whose portrait hung in the main hallway, blonde and beautiful and born to wealth. What brought you to Chicago, Miss Sokolova? From Moscow? The question felt like a test. Maya chose her words carefully. My grandmother wanted a better life for me. We left when I was 7. She worked 3 jobs to put me through school. When she died last year, I inherited her debts along with her dreams. She met his gaze directly. I'm finishing my master's degree in child psychology at Northwestern. The day shifts didn't pay enough. Something shifted in his expression. Understanding, perhaps, or recognition of the brutal calculus of survival. Child psychology, he repeated. And you encountered my daughter having a breakdown, and your instinct was to comfort her, not report her to her nanny. The nanny wasn't here, Maya said simply, and she was crying. The nanny is fired as of tonight, Maksim said, the cold command, returning to his voice. She was hired to care for Anya, not abandon her. He pulled out his phone, fired off a text with swift efficiency, then focused back on Maya with unsettling intensity. I have a proposition for you, Miss Sokolova. Warning bells rang in Maya's head. Propositions from men like Maksim Volkov rarely ended well for people in her position. Sir, I should really return to my daughter needs a nanny. Someone educated, someone who understands child development, someone who speaks Russian and can keep alive the connection to her mother's heritage. His eyes held hers. Someone who can sing her to sleep. Maya's heart stuttered. Mr. Volkov, I'm not qualified. You have a degree in child psychology. You're working on a master's in the same field. You instinctively knew how to calm a grieving 4-year-old when trained professionals have failed for 2 years. He moved closer, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. You're more qualified than anyone I've hired. I'm a maid. You're significantly overqualified to be cleaning my house. His voice softened slightly. The position pays $150,000 annually, plus housing in the staff wing, plus coverage of any remaining student debt you're carrying. He watched her reaction with the focus of a predator sensing weakness. That should be more than adequate to resolve your grandmother's financial legacy and complete your degree. The number made Maya's head spin. It was more than triple what she'd make in her current position, more than she could earn in 3 years of post-graduation work in her field. It was life-changing money, freedom from debt, the ability to actually use her education. It was also a trap. Why me? She asked, proud that her voice remained steady. You could hire someone with years of experience, someone properly vetted, someone from inside your world. Because in 3 weeks, you've demonstrated more discretion than most people in my organization manage in years. Because my daughter stopped crying at your voice. Because you speak Russian like you were born to it. And I want Anya to maintain that connection. He paused, something vulnerable flickering across his features. And because you looked at my daughter and saw a child in pain, not an opportunity. That's rare in my world. Maya looked past him to where Anya slept peacefully, her small face finally relaxed. She thought of her grandmother's dying words. Use that brilliant mind for something good, Malishka. Help the ones who hurt. She thought of her mounting debts, her half-finished thesis, her future closing in like a vice. She thought of a little girl who'd lost her mother and couldn't sleep. I would need to maintain my class schedule, Maya said, the words emerging before she'd fully decided. 2 evenings per week and Saturday mornings. Maxim's eyes gleamed with something that might have been triumph. Done. You'll have a driver to ensure you make classes on time. And I need your word that this arrangement is purely professional. I care for Anya. Nothing else. His expression hardened slightly, but he nodded. You have it. This is about my daughter's well-being, Miss Sokolova. Nothing more. He extended his hand, and Maya stared at it for a moment. This was the moment of choice. Take his hand, accept his offer, and step fully into a world she'd been carefully avoiding. Or walk away, return to her cleaning cart, her student debt, her careful invisibility. She thought of Anya's tears, of the lullaby, of her grandmother's voice singing the same words in a cramped Moscow apartment before everything had fallen apart. Maya placed her hand in his. His grip was warm, firm, and sent an unexpected jolt through her system. His eyes held hers for a moment too long, and in that moment, Maya saw past the dangerous exterior to the man beneath. Grieving, desperate, willing to do anything to help his daughter heal. You start tomorrow, he said, releasing her hand. Maria will show you to your quarters and provide appropriate clothing. Anya wakes at 7. He turned to leave, then paused at the doorway, looking back at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Thank you, Miss Sokolova, for tonight, for singing to her. His voice roughened slightly. Irina she would have been grateful. Then he was gone, disappearing down the hallway with the silence of a shadow, leaving Maya alone in a princess bedroom with a sleeping child, and the growing realization that she'd just fundamentally altered the trajectory of her life. She looked down at Anya, at the peaceful expression that replaced hours of tears. Gently, quietly, she sang one more verse of the lullaby before slipping from the room. She didn't see Maksim Volkov standing in the darkened hallway, hand pressed against the wall, eyes closed, as her voice carried through the silence. Didn't see the way his shoulders shook slightly, the first crack in armor he'd maintained for 2 years. Didn't see him pull out his phone and stare at a photo of a blonde woman holding a newborn, both of them laughing, before he carefully put it away and walked toward his empty bedroom. The lullaby had awakened something in the Volkov house. Neither of them yet understood how much. Maya's new quarters in the staff wing were larger than her entire previous apartment. A bedroom with an actual closet, a private bathroom with heated floors, and a small sitting area with a desk where she could work on her thesis. The contrast to the cramped studio she'd been subletting in a questionable neighborhood was almost obscene. She stood at the window watching dawn break over Lake Michigan, turning the water gold and rose. Somewhere in this massive house, Maksim Volkov was waking up. Somewhere, his daughter was stirring, and Maya was now responsible for that child's well-being, entrusted with the most precious thing a dangerous man possessed. The weight of it settled over her shoulders like a physical thing. Maria, the head housekeeper, arrived at 6:30 with an armful of clothing. Elegant but practical pieces in muted colors, appropriate for a nanny in a wealthy household. "Mr. Volkov wants you dressed appropriately," Maria said in accented English, her eyes assessing Maya with the wariness of someone protecting territory. "You represent the family now." "I'm just the nanny," Maya replied carefully. Maria's laugh was sharp. "There is no just in this house. Everyone serves a purpose. Those who forget their place don't last long." She set down the clothes. "Mr. Volkov doesn't bring outsiders into the family quarters. The fact that you're here, caring for his daughter." She shook her head. "Be careful, girl. This world eats the innocent." The warning lingered after Maria left. Maya, dressed in dark gray slacks and a cream silk blouse that probably cost more than her textbooks, pulled her hair back in a neat bun and studied herself in the mirror. She looked like she belonged here. The thought was both thrilling and terrifying. At precisely 7 o'clock, she knocked on Anya's door. "Vokodi," came a small voice from inside. "Come in." Maya entered to find Anya sitting up in bed, blonde curls wild around her face, clutching a stuffed rabbit. The child's eyes widened with recognition and something that looked desperately like hope. "You came back," Anya whispered in Russian. "I did." Maya sat on the edge of the bed, maintaining the careful distance of someone still learning boundaries. "Your papa asked me to take care of you. Would that be okay?" Anya nodded vigorously, then paused, small face scrunching with concern. "Will you leave like the others?" The question pierced Maya's heart. "How many nannies have you had?" "7. Anya held up fingers to demonstrate. "They all leave. Papa says I'm difficult." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "I miss Mama too much, and it makes people uncomfortable." Maya wanted to gather this child into her arms and promise her the world would stop hurting. Instead, she said gently, "Missing your mama isn't difficult, Malishka. It's love. And love is never something to apologize for." Anya's eyes filled with tears, but they were different from the hopeless sobbing of the night before. These were tears of relief, of finally being understood. "You sound like her. Not exactly, but close. Your mama was from Arbat in Moscow. So was my babushka. We probably learned the same songs, the same stories." Maya smiled. "Would you like to tell me about her? About your mama?" What followed was a flood of memories from a 4-year-old's perspective. Mama's laugh, how she smelled like flowers, how she painted Anya's nails pink, how she told stories about firebirds and brave princesses. Maya listened to every word, filing away details, beginning to understand the woman whose ghost still haunted this house. They were interrupted by a knock. Maksim Volkov entered, and the casual intimacy of the moment vanished, replaced by awareness that crackled through the air. He'd showered and changed into a charcoal suit that probably cost more than a car, his dark hair still slightly damp. But it was his eyes that caught Maya. They moved immediately to his daughter, searching for signs of distress, and when he found none, visible relief softened his features. Papa! Anya launched herself off the bed and into his arms with complete trust. He caught her effortlessly, burying his face in her curls for a moment in a gesture so tender it made Maya's chest ache. Dobro utro, princessa, he murmured. Good morning, princess. Did you sleep well? Maya sang Mama's song, Anya said, pulling back to look at her father's face. I slept all night. No bad dreams. Something passed across Maksim's features, grief and gratitude mixed with something more complicated. His eyes found Maya's over his daughter's head, holding her gaze with an intensity that made her skin flush. Miss Sokolova has agreed to be your new nanny, he told Anya, though his attention remained on Maya. She'll take care of you, teach you things, help you with your Russian. Would you like that? Yes. Anya bounced in his arms. Can she eat breakfast with us? Please, Papa? Maxim's eyebrows rose slightly, clearly not a common request. He set Anya down gently. Miss Sokolova is welcome to join us. Go wash your face and brush your teeth. I need to speak with her for a moment. Anya scampered off to the bathroom, leaving Maya alone with her new employer. The air between them felt charged, heavy with unspoken things. Maxim moved to the window, hands in his pockets, broad shoulders silhouetted against the morning light. She asked about you 3 times before she fell asleep last night, he said quietly. Wanted to know if you were real, or if she'd dreamed of you. He turned to face her. I want to establish ground rules, Miss Sokolova, so we're both clear on expectations. Of course. Maya stood, clasping her hands to keep them steady. First, Anya's safety is paramount. There are security protocols you'll need to learn. Victor, my head of security, will brief you today. His voice took on a harder edge. This family has enemies. Anya is never to leave the estate without armed escorts. Never. Understood. Second, discretion. What you see, what you hear in this house stays in this house. The consequences of betraying that trust would be... He paused, letting the unfinished threat hang. Severe. Maya's spine straightened. Mr. Volkov, I agreed to care for your daughter, not spy for or against you. My only interest is Anya's well-being. Something that might have been approval flickered in his eyes. Good. Third, I want regular reports on her progress. Eating, sleeping, emotional state. You said you're studying child psychology. I expect you to apply that expertise. She's not a case study, Maya said, surprised by her own boldness. She's a little girl who lost her mother. She needs consistency, patience, and someone who sees her as a person, not a problem to solve. Maxim's jaw tightened, and for a moment Maya thought she'd overstepped. Then, unexpectedly, he smiled. A real smile that transformed his face from austere to devastating. You're not afraid of me. Should I be? Most people are. He moved closer, studying her with that unnerving focus. You're different from what I expected. What did you expect? Someone more... He paused, searching for words. Deferential, grateful, intimidated. I am grateful for this opportunity, but I won't do Anya any good if I'm too intimidated to advocate for what she needs. Maya held his gaze. If you want someone who'll just follow orders without question, you hired the wrong person. The silence stretched between them, taut as wire. Then Maxim laughed, a short, surprised sound that seemed to startle him as much as it did her. My security chief said hiring you was a risk, that we didn't know enough about you. His eyes glinted with something dangerous and intrigued. I'm beginning to think he was right. Before Maya could respond, Anya emerged from the bathroom, effectively ending the moment. But as they made their way to the breakfast room, Maya felt the weight of Maxim's gaze on her back, assessing, calculating, seeing her in a way that made her uncomfortably aware of the risk she'd taken by entering his world. The breakfast room was less formal than Maya expected, a sun-filled space overlooking the gardens, with a table that could seat 12 but was set for 3. A woman in a chef's uniform emerged with plates of perfectly arranged food, blini with caviar, fresh fruit, pastries still warm from the oven. Maya had eaten cereal in her car for the past month. Anya climbed into a chair, patting the seat beside her for Maya to sit. Maxim took the head of the table close enough that Maya could smell his cologne, feel the warmth radiating from his body. She focused on Anya, helping her navigate the food, making conversation in Russian that clearly delighted the child. "Your Russian is flawless," Maxim observed, watching them interact. "No trace of accent." "My grandmother insisted I maintain it. She said forgetting your language was forgetting your soul." Wise woman. He sipped his coffee, eyes never leaving Maya's face. "Tell me about her." It felt less like polite conversation and more like an interrogation, but Maya answered. She spoke of her grandmother's strength, her 3 jobs, her determination that Maya would have opportunities she'd never had. She omitted the dangerous parts, the real reason they'd fled Moscow, the secrets her grandmother had taken to her grave. "She sounds remarkable," Maxim said when Maya finished. Something in his voice suggested he heard what she hadn't said. "It's rare, that kind of devotion." "She was all I had. And now you have no one." It wasn't a question. Maya's throat tightened. "Now I have myself. It's enough." Anya, sensing the shift in mood, reached for Maya's hand. "You can have us too," she said, with a child's simple logic. "Papa and me, we're alone too. Mama's gone, and Papa is always sad even when he pretends not to be." Maxim's expression froze. "Anya. But maybe if Maya stays, we can all be less alone together." Anya squeezed Maya's hand, her small face earnest. "Right, Papa?" The silence that followed was deafening. Maxim's eyes met Maya's across the table, and in them she saw warring emotions: grief, longing, and something like fear. "Perhaps," he said finally, his voice carefully neutral. He stood, effectively ending breakfast. "I have meetings. Miss Sokolova, Victor will find you at 9 for your security briefing. Anya, be good for your new nanny." He paused beside Maya's chair, close enough that she could feel the heat of him, smell the cedar and smoke of his cologne, mixed with something distinctly him. For a moment she thought he might say something. Instead, he reached past her to kiss Anya's forehead, his arm briefly brushing Maya's shoulder, and the contact sent electricity through her system. "Thank you," he murmured, so quietly she almost missed it. "For last night, for this morning, for seeing her." Then he was gone, leaving Maya alone with his daughter and the lingering scent of expensive cologne and the unsettling realization that Maksim Volkov was far more complicated and far more dangerous than she'd anticipated. The security briefing was conducted by Viktor Petrov, a man built like a tank, with eyes that missed nothing. He walked Maya through protocols with military precision. Safe rooms in case of emergency, panic buttons installed throughout the family quarters, encrypted phones with direct lines to security, procedures for lockdown situations. "Mr. Volkov has enemies," Victor said bluntly, showing her photos of men with dead eyes and expensive suits. "Rival organizations who would use Anya as leverage. Our job is to ensure they never get the chance." "How real is the threat?" Maya asked, studying the faces, committing them to memory. 2 attempts in the past year, both intercepted before they reached the estate. Victor's expression darkened. "Mrs. Volkov's death. Officially an accident. We believe it was the Kozlov organization. They've been trying to move into Mr. Volkov's territory. Killing his wife was meant to break him." Maya's blood ran cold. Did it? It made him more dangerous. Victor's respect was evident. He took apart the Kozlov operation systematically, legally, where possible, other methods when necessary. But it didn't bring her back. And Anya, he shook his head. She witnessed the accident. She was in the car. The revelation hit Maya like a physical blow. No wonder Anya couldn't sleep. No wonder she screamed and cried. She'd watched her mother die. Does she remember? Maya asked, her professional training kicking in. She won't talk about it. Shut down completely whenever the previous nannies tried. Mr. Volkov brought in therapists. She refused to speak to them. Victor studied Maya with calculating eyes. You got her to sleep. You got her to smile at breakfast. Maybe you can do what the professionals couldn't. I'm not trying to fix her, Maya said quietly. I'm just trying to help her feel safe enough to heal on her own timeline. Victor's expression softened slightly. Mr. Volkov chose well. Just... He hesitated. Be careful. He's a good man in a bad business. But he's still dangerous, especially to people who get close. His wife's death nearly destroyed him. He won't risk caring about anyone else. Not like that. The warning was clear, but Maya wasn't sure why Victor felt the need to give it. I'm here for Anya, nothing else. Keep telling yourself that, Victor said, not unkindly. Now, about the panic buttons. The rest of the morning was spent learning the rhythms of the house. Maya discovered that despite the army of staff, the family quarters felt isolated, almost lonely. Maksim had designed it that way deliberately. Separation between his business life and his private life. Though Maya suspected the boundaries blurred more than he admitted. She set up a routine for Anya. Breakfast, lessons in Russian and English, creative play, lunch, quiet time, afternoon activities. The child responded to structure with visible relief, as though finally someone had given her permission to be 4 years old instead of a miniature adult carrying impossible grief. They were in the playroom, Anya painting at an easel while Maya read through child development journals, when Maksim returned. It was barely 3 o'clock, earlier than Victor had indicated was typical. Papa! Anya ran to him, paint-stained hands and all. He didn't flinch at the rainbow of colors transferring to his suit jacket, just scooped her up with easy strength. What are you painting, Princessa? Firebirds. Maya told me the story about the brave prince and the firebird who helped him. I'm painting them flying together. Maxim's eyes found Maya over Anya's head, something unreadable in his expression. The firebird story was my wife's favorite. Mine too, Maya said softly. My grandmother used to say we all have a firebird inside us, something bright and fierce that helps us survive the darkness. And what happens when the darkness wins? The question emerged raw, unguarded. Not from Maksim Volkov, the crime boss, but from Maksim, the widower who still hadn't figured out how to exist without his other half. Then we find another firebird to light the way, Maya answered, holding his gaze. We don't survive alone. We're not meant to. The moment stretched taut between them, charged with something neither could name. Anya, oblivious to the undercurrents, wriggled down and grabbed her father's hand. Come see. I painted you too. You're the brave prince. Maxim let himself be dragged to the easel, and Maya watched him study his daughters, painting with an expression of such fierce love it made her chest ache. This was the man beneath the reputation, a father who would burn the world to protect his child, who carried grief like a second skin, who was drowning but refused to let anyone see. It's perfect, he told Anya, kissing the top of her head. Then, to Maya, may I speak with you? Privately? Maya's stomach tightened, but she nodded. She helped Anya set up with new painting supplies, then followed Maxim into the hallway. He led her to a small library off the family quarters, closing the door behind them. The space was intimate, filled with books in Russian and English, leather furniture worn from use, and windows overlooking the lake. Victor briefed you, Maxim said. not a question. Yes, I understand the risks. Do you? He moved closer, and Maya forced herself not to step back. Understanding intellectually and understanding viscerally are different things. The men who want to hurt me would use Anya without hesitation. They would use anyone I care about. I can handle myself. Can you? His hand came up, not touching but close enough that she could feel the heat of it near her face. You're educated, intelligent, brave enough to stand up to me. But this world, he shook his head. It destroys people like you. Good people who think they can navigate darkness without being consumed. Is this the part where you tell me to run? Maya's voice was steadier than she felt. This is the part where I admit I'm being selfish. His eyes held hers, ice blue and intense. I should fire you. Send you back to your safe, normal life where the most dangerous thing you face is student loans. But Anya slept last night. She smiled this morning. She's painting firebirds and talking about her mother without crying. His voice roughened. I haven't seen her this alive in 2 years. So I'm keeping you here, in danger, because my daughter needs you more than you need to be safe. The confession hung between them, brutal in its honesty. Maya understood suddenly why this man inspired such loyalty. He wore his ruthlessness openly, but beneath it was a capacity for love so fierce it bordered on violence. I'm not leaving, she said firmly. Anya needs consistency. She needs to know someone won't abandon her. So whatever threats exist, we'll handle them. Together. Together, Maxim repeated, something like wonder in his voice. You say that like you have a choice, like you're my equal in this. In this? In caring for your daughter? I am your equal. Maya lifted her chin. You may own this house, control this city, command an army of men, but in that playroom with Anya, you're just a father who's desperate for his daughter to heal, and I'm someone who knows how to help her. So yes, Mr. Volkov. Together. The silence that followed was electric. Maxim stared at her like she was a puzzle he couldn't solve, dangerous and fascinating in equal measure. Then, slowly, deliberately, he smiled, and it was nothing like the cold, calculated expression she'd seen before. This smile reached his eyes, softening the harsh lines of his face, making him look younger, almost vulnerable. You're going to be trouble, he said, but there was no heat in it. I can feel it. Probably, Maya admitted. But I'm trouble that comes with child psychology expertise and knowledge of Russian lullabies. So I think I'm worth the risk. His laugh was short but genuine. We'll see, Miss Sokolova. We'll see. He moved toward the door, then paused, looking back at her with an expression she couldn't quite read. For what it's worth? Thank you. For not running. For staying, even though you're smart enough to know you should go. For what it's worth? You're welcome. And Mr. Volkov? She waited until he turned fully. Stop calling me Miss Sokolova when we're alone. It makes me feel like I'm in trouble with a principal. My name is Maya. Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, pleasure, and beneath it all, a heat that made her pulse quicken. Maya, he said, her name sounding different in his accent, almost like a caress. Then you should call me Maxim, at least when my daughter isn't using me for art projects. The moment felt significant, like crossing a threshold neither had meant to approach. Then Anya's voice called from the playroom. Papa! Maya! Come see! And the spell broke. They returned to find Anya had added to her painting 3 figures now, the prince, the firebird, and another figure in a blue dress holding the firebird's wing. That's you, Maya, Anya explained proudly. You're helping the firebird find the prince so they can all be together. Maya's throat tightened. Maxim stood beside her, close enough that their arms brushed, both of them staring at a 4-year-old's innocent vision of people finding each other in the darkness. It's beautiful, Malishka, Maya managed. The best one yet, Princessa, Maxim added, his voice rougher than usual. Neither of them mentioned that in the fairy tale, the firebird and the prince lived happily ever after. Neither of them acknowledged that in the real world, in the darkness they actually inhabited, happy endings were myths told to children. But for a moment, standing in that sun-filled playroom with paint-stained hands and a child's laughter, they both allowed themselves to hope. The evening brought new challenges. Anya's energy faded as sunset approached, anxiety creeping in as bedtime neared. Maya could see it in the tightening of small shoulders, the way the child's laughter became forced. Bath time, Maya said gently, taking Anya's hand. I don't like baths, Anya whispered. The water. She didn't finish, but Maya understood. Water meant the accident, meant her mother, another trauma to carefully navigate. What if we make it an adventure? Maya suggested. You can be the captain of a ship, and these toys can be your crew sailing across a magical sea? Anya considered this, then nodded. Slowly. The bath became a game, with Maya narrating an elaborate story about Princess Anya and her voyage to find the Singing Islands. By the time they finished, Anya was smiling again, though shadows still lingered in her eyes. Maxim appeared as Maya was helping Anya into pajamas, soft cotton printed with stars and moons. He'd changed from his suit into dark jeans and a black sweater, looking more human and somehow more dangerous all at once. Story time? He asked, and Anya nodded eagerly. They settled together in Anya's room, Maxim in the chair, Anya in bed, and Maya perched on the footboard. Maxim read in Russian, his deep voice bringing the words to life, and Maya watched the way his daughter's face softened, the trust and love evident in every line. This was what Anya needed, Maya realized, not just her, but her father too. They needed to heal each other. When the story ended, Maxim kissed Anya's forehead. Sweet dreams, Princessa. Will Maya sing? Anya asked, small voice hopeful. Maxim's eyes found Maya's, asking permission, acknowledging this was her choice. Maya nodded and began the lullaby, the same one from the night before. Maxim remained in his chair, perfectly still, listening. Maya watched his face as she sang, the way grief carved lines around his mouth, the way his eyes closed as though the melody caused physical pain, the way his hands gripped the chair arms until his knuckles whitened. This was costing him something, this echo of his wife's voice in another woman's throat. When Anya's breathing evened into sleep, Maya stopped singing. The silence was heavy, weighted with loss. I'll go, Maya whispered, standing carefully. Wait. Maxim's voice stopped her at the door. He stood, moved close enough that she could see the gold flecks in his blue eyes. That song. It's killing me and keeping me alive at the same time. Do you understand? Yes. Because she did. Understanding the way memory could be both comfort and knife. I used to stand outside her door every night, listening to Irina sing. After she died, the silence. He stopped, jaw clenching. It was worse than anything else, the empty space where her voice should have been. And now? Maya asked softly. Now I hear echoes. Not the same, but... He looked at her with an expression that made her breath catch. Close enough to remember what I lost, close enough to hurt, but also close enough to hope that Anya might heal. Maya didn't know what to say to that, so she said nothing. Just stood there as Maksim Volkov, one of Chicago's most dangerous men, allowed her to see him completely vulnerable. Thank you, he said finally, for giving my daughter back her mother's lullaby, for giving her peace. She's easy to care about, Maya replied. She's remarkable. Like her mother. The words emerged rough. Irina would have liked you. Your strength. Your refusal to be intimidated. Your kindness toward Anya. His eyes held hers. She would have trusted you. Coming from him, it felt like the highest compliment. I'll do everything I can to help her heal. I know you will. He stepped back, creating distance, rebuilding the walls that had briefly lowered. Good night, Maya. Good night, Maxim. His name in her mouth made something flash in his eyes. Possession, pleasure, danger. Then he was gone, leaving Maya alone in the hallway, heart racing, fully aware that she'd stepped into something far more complicated than a nanny position. She'd stepped into the gravitational field of a man who was dangerous, grieving, powerful, and slowly, carefully, beginning to see her as more than just the help. And God help her. She was beginning to see him too. Not the crime boss, not the distant employer, but the man underneath, the father, the widower, the person who carried his pain like armor and his love like a weapon. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. Maya returned to her quarters knowing sleep would be elusive. She'd crossed too many lines in one day, allowed herself to care too much, to see too clearly. Tomorrow she'd need to be more careful, maintain better boundaries. But tonight, she let herself remember the way Maxim had looked at her in the library, the way his voice had softened when he said her name, the way they'd stood together watching Anya paint firebirds and hope. Tomorrow would bring reality, threats, dangers, the impossibility of their situation. But tonight, Maya allowed herself one small, foolish moment of wondering what if. What if a firebird and a broken prince could find their way to each other? What if love could grow in the darkest places? What if? 3 months transformed everything. Maya watched from the garden as Anya ran through autumn leaves, laughing with the pure joy of a child who'd finally remembered how. The nightmares had faded to occasional shadows. The crying had stopped. In their place, questions, stories, the 1,000 small rebellions of a healthy 4-year-old testing boundaries. But it wasn't just Anya who'd changed. Maxim had become a constant presence in the family quarters, arriving home earlier, taking meals with them, reading bedtime stories. The cold, distant employer had given way to something warmer, a man who smiled more readily, whose eyes sought Maya's across rooms, whose casual touches lingered just slightly too long. They'd developed a rhythm, the 3 of them. Mornings began with breakfast together, Anya chattering in Russian while Maxim and Maya traded knowing glances over her head. Evenings ended with the lullaby, Maxim always present now, listening with an expression that made Maya's chest ache. "You're staring," Victor said, appearing beside her in the garden. His tone held no judgment, only weary concern. "I'm supervising," Maya corrected, but she knew what he saw. He's happier, softer. She's healing. Victor paused. But the Kozlov organization has noticed. They're watching again. And now they're watching you too. The warning sent ice through Maya's veins. What do you mean? Photographs. You with Anya. You with Mr. Volkov. They're building a file, trying to determine if you're leverage or just staff. Victor's expression darkened. Be careful, Maya. The closer you get to him, the bigger target you become. That night, Maya found Maxim in his study, a room she'd glimpsed but never entered. He looked up as she knocked, surprise flickering across his features. Maya, is something wrong? Is Anya? Anya's fine, asleep. Maya closed the door behind her, leaning against it. Victor told me about the Kozlov surveillance. Maxim's expression hardened instantly. He shouldn't have. I'm glad he did. I deserve to know if I'm putting Anya at risk just by being here. You're not putting her at risk. I am. He stood, moving around the desk with predatory grace. This is my world, my enemies. You're just collateral. Don't do that, Maya said sharply. Don't diminish what's happening here. I'm not just collateral anymore. And you know it. The words hung between them, acknowledging what neither had dared voice. Maxim stopped inches away, close enough that Maya could see the pulse jumping in his throat, feel the heat radiating from his body. You should leave, he said roughly. Tonight. I'll pay out your contract, set you up somewhere safe, far from Chicago. You've done what I hired you for. Anya is healing. You don't need to stay. Is that what you want? What I want is irrelevant. His hand came up, cupping her face with surprising gentleness. What I want is dangerous. For you, for Anya, for everything I've built. Maya leaned into his touch, heart hammering. What do you want, Maxim? You. The word emerged like a confession, like a wound opening. I want you in ways that terrify me. I want to wake up to your voice singing. I want to watch you with my daughter and pretend we're a family. I want things I have no right to want. Not when wanting them puts you in danger. Then protect me, Maya challenged. You're Maksim Volkov. You own this city. Protect me the way you protect Anya. It's not that simple. It is exactly that simple. Maya placed her hand over his heart, feeling it race beneath her palm. You're just scared. Scared of caring about someone again. Scared of losing someone else you love. The word love made him flinch. I can't love you, Maya. Love is weakness in my world. It's a weapon my enemies will use. Then don't love me, she whispered, rising on her toes until their lips were breath apart. Just don't push me away. Maxim's control shattered. He kissed her with desperate hunger, hands tangling in her hair, pulling her against him. Maya surrendered to it. The heat, the need, 3 months of careful distance burning away in seconds. His mouth was demanding, skilled, tasting of whiskey, and danger, and something that felt impossibly like coming home. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Maxim rested his forehead against hers. This is a mistake. Probably, Maya agreed, but I'm done being careful. I'm done pretending I don't feel this. You don't understand what you're signing up for. A crash from downstairs cut him off, then gunfire, sharp, unmistakable. Maxim's entire demeanor transformed instantly, the lover disappearing behind the soldier. Anya, Maya gasped. They ran together, Maxim pulling a gun from his desk drawer with practiced ease. Victor appeared in the hallway, weapon drawn, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. Kozlov sent a team, 6 men. We've contained 4, but 2 broke through. They're heading for the family quarters. Maxim's face went deadly calm. Get Maya and Anya to the safe room, now. I'm not leaving you, Maya started. Yes, you are. Maxim grabbed her shoulders, eyes blazing. You keep my daughter safe. That's all that matters. Promise me. Maya nodded, throat tight with fear. Maxim kissed her hard, fast, then pushed her toward Victor. Go. They ran for Anya's room. The child was awake, terrified, clutching her rabbit. Maya scooped her up, murmuring reassurances in Russian as Victor led them through a hidden door in the nursery closet. The safe room beyond was steel-reinforced, stocked with supplies, monitors showing security feeds throughout the house. On one screen, Maya watched Maxim move through corridors with lethal grace. 2 men appeared, weapons raised. What followed was brutal, efficient violence. Maxim disarming the first, breaking his arm, using the man's own gun against his partner. No hesitation, no mercy. This was the man the city feared. This was the truth beneath the expensive suits. Papa's scary when he fights, Anya whispered against Maya's neck, like a monster. No, Malishka, not a monster. Maya held her tighter, a protector. Sometimes protection looks frightening, but he's keeping us safe. The assault lasted 12 minutes. When silence finally fell, Victor checked the feeds, then gave the all clear. They emerged to find the house secured, Maxim standing in the hallway giving orders to his men, blood on his knuckles, shirt torn. His eyes found Maya and Anya immediately, sweeping over them with frantic assessment. "You're okay? Neither of you hurt?" "We're fine," Maya assured him. Anya reached for her father and he took her carefully, mindful of the blood. "I'm sorry, Princessa. I'm so sorry you had to be scared." "You protected us," Anya said simply, "like the brave prince in the stories. Maya said so." Maxim's eyes met Maya's over his daughter's head, gratitude and guilt warring in their depths. "Take her to her room. I'll be there soon." Maya nodded, understanding he needed to handle his business. She got Anya settled, singing the lullaby until the child's breathing evened. But this time, the nightmare returned, Anya waking, with screams, calling for her mother. Maya held her through it, rocking and soothing until Maxim appeared. He'd showered, changed, the blood and violence washed away, but his eyes held shadows that wouldn't fade. "Let me," he said quietly, taking his daughter. Anya clung to him, sobbing. "I thought they would take me like they took Mama. I thought I'd lose you too, Papa." "Never." Maxim's voice cracked. "I will never let anyone take you, I promise." "But you promised Mama too, and they still took her." Anya's words were daggers. In the car, the men with guns. They shot her and she couldn't wake up, and there was so much blood. She dissolved into hysterics. Maxim looked at Maya with helpless devastation, this powerful man broken by his daughter's trauma finally spilling out. Maya sat beside them, taking Anya's small hand. "Malishka, listen to me. Those men can't hurt you anymore. Your papa made sure of it. And he's learned from what happened to your mama. He's stronger now, more careful. You're safe." "But what about you?" Anya turned tear-stained face to Maya. "What if they hurt you? I can't lose you too. I can't." The confession shattered something in the room. This was the real wound. Not just losing her mother, but terror of losing anyone else she loved. "You're not going to lose me," Maya promised fiercely. "I'm not going anywhere. Your papa will keep us both safe. Right, Maxim?" He met her eyes, understanding passing between them. This was the moment, the choice. Continue the dance of almost or commit fully to this impossible thing growing between them. "Right," Maxim said firmly. "Maya stays. She's family now. And I protect family with everything I have." "Promise?" Anya whispered. "I promise." He looked at Maya as he said it, the words a vow for both his daughter and the woman who'd somehow become essential to their lives. Anya finally calmed, exhaustion claiming her. They tucked her in together, moving in perfect sync. Maxim straightening covers while Maya arranged stuffed animals, both checking that the nightlight was positioned correctly. In the hallway, Maxim pulled Maya into his study, closing the door. This time, when he kissed her, it was different. Not desperate, but claiming. His hands framed her face with aching tenderness. "I can't promise safety," he said against her lips. "I can't promise easy. My world is violence and darkness and constant threat. I know. But I can promise I'll fight for you. Protect you. Keep you safe with everything I have." His eyes searched hers. "Stay, Maya. Not as the nanny, not as staff. Stay as mine." "Yours," Maya repeated, tasting the word. "And what are you? Mine too? If you'll have me, a broken widower with blood on his hands and enemies at the gates." His smile was self-deprecating. Not much of an offer. "You're also a father who'd burn the world for his daughter, a man who listens to lullabies even though they break his heart. Someone who sees me, really sees me, not what I can do for him, but who I am." Maya kissed him softly. "That's enough. That's everything. They stood wrapped in each other as the house settled around them, security patrols resuming their rounds, the night returning to fragile peace. When Maxim finally released her, his expression held something Maya had never seen before: hope. The Kozlov organization will retaliate, he said, shifting into planning mode. This was just reconnaissance. The real attack will come later. Then we'll be ready. We, Maxim repeated, pulling her back against him. I like the sound of that. The next weeks were a careful dance of preparation and normalcy. Maxim increased security while maintaining routines for Anya. Maya continued her studies, defended her thesis with Maxim in attendance, watching from the back row with pride evident in his eyes. The relationship between them evolved from hidden to acknowledged, staff adjusting to seeing them together, Anya delighted by the affection she witnessed. Are you going to marry Maya? Anya asked one morning at breakfast, with a child's devastating directness. Maxim nearly choked on his coffee. Maya's face heated. Anya? Because I think you should, Anya continued blithely. Then she'd be my mama too. Not like my first mama, but a new mama. Is that okay, Papa? Can I have two mamas even if one is in heaven? Maxim's eyes filled with tears, the first Maya had seen. He pulled Anya onto his lap, voice thick with emotion. Of course that's okay, Princessa. Your first mama would want you to be loved, to be happy. And if Maya agrees... He looked at Maya over Anya's head. If she's willing to take on both of us permanently, then yes, I'd very much like to marry her. It wasn't a proposal. It was better. An invitation into their family, their life, their future. Maya felt tears streaming down her own face as she nodded. Yes, yes, I'll marry you. Both of you. Anya shrieked with joy. Maxim stood, still holding his daughter, and pulled Maya into their embrace. They stood there, the three of them, a family forged from loss and lullabies and love that refused to be denied. The threat came 2 months later. The Kozlov organization made their move, not at the estate, but targeting Maya's university. Victor's intelligence network intercepted the plan, and Maxim moved first, dismantling their operation with surgical precision. When it was over, the Kozlov family sued for peace, recognizing that Maksim Volkov fighting for those he loved was a force nothing could stand against. The wedding was small, intimate, just family and trusted associates. Anya served as flower girl, scattering petals with solemn importance. When Maxim and Maya exchanged vows, speaking of protection and partnership and choosing each other despite the odds, there wasn't a dry eye in attendance. I promise to be your firebird, Maya whispered during their first dance, echoing the fairy tale that had brought them together. To help you find light in darkness. And I promise to be worthy of that light, Maxim replied, holding her close. To protect it, nurture it, never take it for granted. From across the room, Anya watched them with pure happiness, her earlier trauma fading beneath the security of being loved. Later, when they tucked her in, she asked them to sing together. Maxim's deep voice and Maya's clear soprano blending in the lullaby that had started everything. Spi, mladenec moj prekrasny, baju bajushki baju. 5 years later, Maya stood in the garden watching Anya, now 9, teach her baby brother the Russian words for different flowers. Maxim appeared behind her, arms wrapping around her waist, chin resting on her shoulder. What are you thinking? He murmured. That life is strange, that I came here to clean houses and ended up finding home. Maya leaned back against him. That sometimes the darkest places hide the brightest lights. Poetic. His lips brushed her temple. But accurate. You saved us, Maya. Anya and me both. We were drowning before you sang that lullaby. No, Maya corrected, turning in his arms. We saved each other. That's how it works. Firebirds and princes, remember? They fly together. Their son, Alexei, named for Maksim's father, toddled over, demanding attention in the imperious way of 2-year-olds. Maksim scooped him up, and Anya joined them, and they stood together in the autumn sunlight. This family built from tragedy and choice, and stubborn, fierce love. The Volkov estate no longer felt like a fortress. Under Maya's influence, it had become a home, filled with laughter and music and Russian lullabies sung to children who would never forget where they came from. Maksim had gradually shifted his business toward legitimate enterprises, using his power to protect rather than dominate, building a legacy his children could be proud of. At night, when the house settled into peace, Maya would sometimes find Maksim standing outside Anya's room, listening to her breathe steadily in sleep. She'd join him, and he'd pull her close, gratitude evident in every line of his body. "Thank you," he'd whisper, every time, for staying, for not running, for teaching us how to live again. And Maya would kiss him and respond with words that had become their ritual. "Thank you for recognizing the firebird when you saw her, for letting her light the way home." They'd return to their own room then, to the life they'd built from impossible odds. And if sometimes Maya still marveled at the journey, from frightened maid to beloved wife, from invisible to essential, she kept it to herself, letting wonder and gratitude settle in her chest like the warmth of coming home. The lullaby had been a beginning, but the love that followed, complicated, hard-won, absolutely real, that was the true fairy tale. The kind that didn't promise perfection, but promised partnership. The kind that said, "We'll face darkness together, and together, we'll find the light." The phoenix had risen, the prince had found his firebird, and together, they'd built something neither could have imagined. A family, a future, a love that burned bright enough to illuminate even the darkest corners of Maksim Volkov's dangerous world. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.